east, it'd be about 75 to 100 miles or more.
The shutdown of Interstate 75 in Tennessee is causing long delays in southern Kentucky. How drivers are trying to get around the mess.
A warning from postal inspectors: keep an eye out on your elderly family members. How to make sure they don't fall victim to a scam.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening to you. We are in for another week of some wild weather. After a beautiful spring-like weekend, we're set to see some storms roll in.
Unfortunately, we've had some practice at this. We are tracking those big changes moving in tomorrow. It keeps Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey employed.
Yes,
right?
yes, it does. And you know what? March is one of those months, guys, that you get a lot of wild stuff. It can snow, you can get thunderstorms, very warm, very cold, and obviously March begins in just a matter of a few hours. But February ending on a strong note with a lot of blue skies across the region. Those temperatures that are deep into the 50s now, mid and upper 50s showing up. How about capital city of Frankfurt? Look at the sunset, or the shadows, I should say, on the cars there getting longer and longer as those days get a little longer too. 57 degrees right now, everybody else 55. Defender Radar Network. It is calm. It is quiet across the Commonwealth. Tomorrow when you join me at this exact same time, it's not going to be calm. It is not going to be quiet. We're going to be tracking thunderstorms courtesy of an area of low pressure. Storm system developing across the plain states coming out of the Rockies. Look at all the snow on the northern side of that. Mild air out ahead of that, cold air clashing with that area of low pressure. That means a big time temperature gradient will set up as we go through tomorrow afternoon heading into the evening, and that means a lot of wild weather yet again. So buckle up for the ride as we go through tomorrow and into tomorrow night. We've got thunderstorms and the threat for snowflakes all sandwiched into just a matter of hours as our temperature drops greater than 30 degrees during a 5 or 6 hour period tomorrow afternoon and evening. The overall pattern into the first week of March continues to be a little on the busy side. After tomorrow's system, I've got a few more due in town as we go through the rest of the week and into the coming weekend. Little hope, though, shows up at the end of that 7-day forecast when I come back here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Chris. Well, a traffic mess in northern Tennessee impacting traffic in southern Kentucky. A rock slide along Interstate 75, not too far from the Kentucky-Tennessee border, has shut down part of I-75, and it could be closed for weeks.
The Interstate 75 closure has drivers taking detours to get around the mess, and while many vehicles are just taking exits near the closure, commercial traffic is being forced to turn around at Jellicoe.
Those people have to get off the interstate at Corbin and take the long way around. Phil Pendleton takes a look at the traffic impact in our top story at 5:30.
Message boards warn drivers of the trouble ahead, and drivers like Clem Tucker of Casey County says he saw the trouble firsthand on Friday.
Just drove up on it suddenly, and I had a wide load behind me, and I had to help escort him through there.
We received a closer look at the big problem today with video provided by Tennessee highway officials. Tucker drives for a company out of Liberty, hauling everything from Gates to hay to Florida. He's among the many drivers who will have to take the lengthy detour around the rock slide.
It depends on if we're going east or not. If we're going east, it'd be about 75 to 100 miles or more.
The eastbound detour for trucks take them toward Middlesboro and through the Cumberland Gap Tunnel and either south to I-75 or north to Interstate 81.
We just go through our single file, lined up, and the cars pass us on the left side.
Cars are still allowed to drive as far south as Jellicoe, but the trucks were told to exit earlier based on the large number of crashes along the Tennessee detour route. Tucker says he saw problems below exit 11 when trucks tried to turn around.
Like I told him, when he got to below exit 11, there wasn't no turnaround. You had to sit for about 8 hours in traffic.
Officials advise that patience is the best advice in situations like this. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And Tennessee highway officials say it could be 2 to 3 weeks before the interstate reopens. So most of the commercial trucks being detoured, as Phil was telling us, at Corbin are taking US 25E through Bell County. Highway officials in Kentucky say that all of that traffic means that they are seeing up to 5 times the normal volume of traffic through the Cumberland Gap Tunnel. The detour is adding hours to drive times as the truckers drive on the windy roads.
A northern Kentucky father believes a body found over the weekend is his daughter. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Bracken County. The body was found by people fishing around 6:30 last night in Snag Creek near the Ohio River. Tara Turner, who is from Pendleton County, has been missing since January 31st. Her father told a TV station in Cincinnati that he's been told that the body is his daughter. The cause of death has not yet been released. In Scott County, a woman awaiting sentencing on charges related to a retired school bus driver's murder has been released from house arrest. A Scott County circuit judge signed the order for C.G. Jefferson earlier this month. The News Graphic reports the order also releases Jefferson from electronic monitoring, but requires her to be available for phone checks. Last year, Jefferson pled guilty to complicity to commit burglary in Sue Jones' 2010 murder. Nicholas Willinger is charged with murder, robbery, and burglary in that case. And in Boyle County, Danville police are looking for a man accused of using several counterfeit bills. Police posted photos this afternoon of a man using the fake money at the five-star gas station on Denmark Drive. The man was wearing a dark-colored hoodie, blue jeans, and a blue UK toboggan. He was also seen driving a maroon passenger car.
In addition to the Interstate 75 mess, a couple of other traffic alerts to pass along to you tonight. Drivers on the Mountain Parkway will run into some delays for the next few weeks. A temporary traffic light will be installed on the Mountain Parkway near the Kentucky 30 interchange tomorrow. That light will let large trucks move materials from one side of the parkway to a dumping area on the opposite side of the road. The light is expected to be there for about 4 weeks. And crews will be closing part of River Road in Estill County next week. The road will be closed between mile markers 1 and 2 next Tuesday from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Crews will be installing a new drainage structure to help with flooding issues on that road. The closure will impact traffic between Lee and Owsley counties and Irvin and Richmond. Drivers will be able to use Kentucky 52 as an alternate route.
Lexington's newest hotel is officially open for business after years of construction. The 21C Museum Hotel in downtown Lexington has opened. There was a ribbon cutting this afternoon outside the hotel. The hotel replaces what used to be the First National Bank building. Mike Linden takes us inside the hotel to see how they turned the historic building into a hotel.
After nearly 4 years worth of planning, designing, and construction, the 21C Hotel in downtown Lexington is finally open.
The newest addition to downtown Lexington isn't just a hotel.
21C Museum Hotels is a contemporary art museum at its core.
The building opened as a bank in 1913. 21C staff say maintaining the history of the building was essential to the finished product.
We're not a cookie cutter hotel. We create a new experience in each new market, and so a lot of that at the beginning comes from the building.
The hotel has 88 rooms available for guests, each with a unique art piece from Lexington area artists. 21C Museum Hotels President Craig Greenberg says Lexington is quickly becoming a destination city.
Between the businesses that are growing here, the universities, the horse industry, people's focused on bourbon, there are a lot of reasons people are coming to Lexington today and are going to want to come to Lexington in the future.
After 4 years worth of work, staff say they're glad to finally share the hotel with the community.
The building here is very beautiful. It's almost like a little jewel box, which is kind of like an analogy for the city as a whole. It's small and quaint, but it's also very beautiful, and I think that carries through over to the property.
In Lexington, Mike Linden, WKYT.
21C is hosting a grand opening party tonight at 8. The event is open to the public and it's free to attend.
Surveillance footage helped catch a home health care worker stealing from one of her patients. Officials say that crime committed against the elderly is all too common. Here's more on how you can protect your loved ones. You're looking at surveillance camera footage of home health care worker Cecilia Davidson. The catch, Davidson is not using her own card. Authorities say she's taking money from one of her elderly clients. Postal inspectors say Davidson contacted her 94-year-old client's bank and took over the account.
Ms. Davidson, who was supposed to be taking care of the elderly victim, was using the account as her own personal spending account.
Investigators say the victim, named Lillian, had no idea her account had been compromised. But her bank saw unusual activity and called authorities.
There was a recent order for a debit card, an ATM check card. Lillian had never utilized this sort of banking opportunity before.
More than $200,000 had been taken. Authorities have surveillance from Target and the post office where Davidson bought $12,000 worth of money orders.
Sometimes there's a bad apple, and there was a bad apple in this case.
Authorities say keeping in touch with our senior citizens is key to preventing them from becoming a victim.
It's very important for us to look out for each other as far as, you know, if anyone is taking advantage of someone, because you might not know. And the only way you will know is just by speaking to someone.
Lillian was living on her own. She's now moved in with a nephew.
In Lillian's case, I was very fortunate to find a family member who just stepped up and really brought her in. So she's still going.
A civil judgment found that Cecilia Davidson guilty, and she has been ordered to pay $214,000.
Kentucky's caucus is just days away, and a handful of Republican presidential candidates are making stops here in the Commonwealth.
Bill Bryant is talking to GOP party leaders about how Kentucky will impact the presidential race in the bottom line.
Good evening. It appears most of the remaining Republican contenders for the White House will put in appearances in Kentucky this week, despite all of the Super Tuesday primaries tomorrow. As we reported earlier, retired neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson was in Lexington earlier today. He isn't sure where his campaign will be left after tomorrow's voting, but he is still pushing toward Saturday's Kentucky Republican Caucus. More than 700 people attended the Carson event today. Frontrunner Donald Trump will be touching down in Louisville tomorrow. That'll be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon before going on to what he hopes and expects will be a night of victories in the Super Tuesday contests. And Marco Rubio will be in Lexington Friday afternoon just before Kentucky's caucuses on Saturday. Kentucky Republican leaders don't know exactly what to expect in the first caucus they've held. The party has usually held a May primary, but they say the earlier contest means the bluegrass state may matter much more this time.
And we're giving, as you said, voters the opportunity to be relevant in the presidential nomination in a way that no one can really remember us doing, because we've always had that late May primary after the nomination's been sewn up. By doing this on Saturday, March 5th, a full 2.5 months earlier, we're doing it at a time when candidates are still competing for votes, still need to win more states and more delegates to secure their nomination.
Now, my full Kentucky Newsmakers interview with Biaggi is available on demand at WKYT.com. School officials in Plattsburgh, New York have voted to change the name of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. A survey shows support for the move was especially strong among Native Americans. And veteran Kentucky journalist Carl West is being remembered as the founder of the Kentucky Book Fair and longtime editor of the Frankfort State Journal, who also covered Watergate early in his career. Carl West died Sunday at age 74. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
An old distillery in Woodford County has a new name. The old Taylor Distillery in Millville will now be Castle and Key.
And talk about history. The distillery was built in 1887, and the three people who own it now have been working to restore it for almost 2 years. A new still was installed last October. It'll be able to produce 12,000 barrels a year. Production of Castle and Key's bottled in bond bourbon will begin this summer. The distillery also has the first female master distiller of bourbon in the state.